How's it going out there, YouTubers? Cyberneticshark here with another new movie review for you. Now, because this is October, and I had a recent comment from one of my subscribers that had a suggestion for a movie review. So I decided to do an awesome movie review of this film. So let's get right into it and see what it is. So, welcome to an awesome Halloween movie review, and also, like I said in the intro, from one of my awesome subscribers, they asked me to do a review of this film, and of course that is the film, the awesome 1987 film, The Monster Squad. Monster Squad, Monster Squad, Monster Squad, oh Monster Squad. Yes, the Monster Squad, people, oh yeah! So thankfully I have this on DVD. I didn't have it for a long time. And thankfully I got it finally on DVD. I'm looking to get the Blu-ray eventually, just waiting for it to come down in price. A little pricey. Anywho, so this is an awesome review of this awesome 1987 film. So this film was none other directed by a gentleman that has only directed a few other films. He hasn't been a big director. He's done a lot of writing. He's done a lot of like co-writing and co-directing with different directors and screenwriters and so forth. And that, of course, is the gentleman known as Fred Dekker. Now, Fred Dekker, like I said, he's done a lot of co-writing on films. He actually was recently a co-writer with director Shane Black on the new Predator film, actually. He also has, like, co-written big 1980s and 1990 films. Like, he's co-wrote RoboCop 2, he co-wrote RoboCop 3. I mean, he's directed and co-wrote a lot of films and been kind of like a co-director, but has done a couple, feature-length films himself besides The Monster Squad. So, one of the ones that I actually have seen that he's directed, I actually have seen both that he's directed, but one of them that he directed is an awesome and amazing film that I think is a great 80s classic horror film, too, along the same lines as Monster Squad. And that, of course, is the film Night of the Creeps. Now, if you haven't seen Night of the Creeps, definitely check this out, people. It's an awesome Halloween film. Definitely great for the month of October. It's just a really awesome, fun, 80s horror type of film. Along the lines of, if you like Piranha, or if you like films like the original Puppet Master, or if you like films along that type of line, Critters and so forth. It has that same kind of vibe, Night of the Creeps. And it's just an interesting and awesome kind of, creature feature, slash kind of world coming to an end, gotta save the world from these creatures, etc., etc., and it's just a fun film. Now, Fred Dekker, I thought, did an amazing job directing the film. I thought he made it really well. I thought he gave a great flavor to it. He gave it a really interesting vibe. I thought that he had that complete 1980s nostalgia in the film, too. Because, back in the 80s, everything was so considered futuristic and stuff like that, because 1980s, that was considered the future and so forth. And it was so funny when that movie came out and, it was considered kind of a flop, but at the same time it had a cult following. Fred just, had a great style of what he did with the film and just brought it to life, and I thought he made a really decent film. Now, another film he directed, which I totally did not realize he directed until I just recently researched it, is none other than a sequel to two pretty decent films. One was considered a big success, the other one wasn't considered a flop, but was considered decent and had Peter Weller return as RoboCop. And that, of course, is the film RoboCop 3. I didn't realize he was a writer and the director of the film. I did not realize that. Now, out of all three of the films, this one's considered the least, great. This one's the worst because Peter Weller didn't come back. They just thought that the story was horrible. They, killed off one of the main characters that's been through the series and so forth, and it was just it was considered a kind of a flop. But from my perspective, I thought it was a pretty decent action sci-fi flick. I thought that Fred did a pretty good job with what he had, considering he didn't get, Peter Weller back, or he didn't really have great writers on the film with him. But he still did a pretty decent job and made, even though it was considered a great film, still a decent enough, fun flick to want to watch here and there. And I think that's what he did with that. He did a really good job. Now, when it comes to Monster Squad, this is a classic. And Fred made this a classic because he brought a great sense of just a cool premise to the whole history and lore of all these monsters. From Count Dracula to Frankenstein to the Mummy to the creature from the Black Lagoon. He just gave us a whole awesome kind of vibe and idea about these creatures and gave us kind of like a history lesson along with making a fun kind of family-oriented kids flick. Along the lines of like Goonies and, stuff like that. Because I totally get like kind of a Goonies vibe from this film. And especially because they came out so close to, together between a 2-year gap. I feel that they were very similar in how they were. And I thought Fred did a really good job of bringing that and giving us a cool and awesome cult following kind of classic, monster film. And he, I thought he did a really decent job of bringing us these different vibe on these characters too. Giving us a different look at them, like how they could be and how vicious one of them really could be and how unstable they could be and so forth. And I thought he did a really awesome job. I know this movie's not considered, could be like a Oscar-nominated film or anything, but at the same time, I feel that it should have gotten that credit because for 1987, it was fabulous and fantastic and just was worthy of even special effects makeup for its time. It just was an awesome achievement, and I thought Fred did a really good job with directing this. Really beautiful film. Really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, people. It's worth the watch. So this movie has a really diverse cast. A lot of, bit actors that were involved in the film. A lot of them have gone on and done a whole bunch of different films. All the kids that were in this film, actually, this is like their one really feature film. Most of them have did commercials and did some TV episodes, were little bit parts in movies in the 80s, but really none of them have gone on to do anything else. So the cast of this film actually consists of some really awesome guys, I think, that were just really well known character actors and have, done lots of great films over the years. So to start off this awesome cast, we have none other than an awesome African-American actor that I think doesn't get enough credit for how funny, how versatile he is, and he's just a really awesome actor. And that is Mr. Stan Shaw. Now, Stan Shaw you might recognize from a slew of films over the years. You might recognize him most recently from Jeepers Creepers 3, playing the police officer or captain of the investigation that's trying to figure out, who the creeper is and, stop this creeper from what he's doing and so forth. You might recognize him from, bit parts on TV shows and so forth. But a couple films I really enjoyed him and thought he was fantastic in were none other than an awesome film from 1996 that Rob Cohen directed, starring the awesome Sylvester Stallone. And that, of course, is the awesome film Daylight. Now, if you haven't seen Daylight, this movie was amazing. If you're a big disaster type of film fan, that's what I am. I love disaster films. This was one of my, best ones of all time. I love this. It's, my top tier of, the top 2 for me. And I just thought that this was such a really well-done action disaster film. Sylvester Stallone was awesome in it. Amy Brennan was awesome in it. It had a great cast, lots of great actors and actresses in the film. And just really well done. And I love Stan Shaw's character in the film. I really enjoyed him as the security guard guy down there that kind of gets stuck down there along with them. Unfortunately, he has an injury. And basically just his performance, I thought, was really intense and really well done. And I really enjoyed him. I felt real bad for him. I felt like he really was what was happening to him in the film. I thought he conveyed it so realistically. And he just did an amazing job. And I thought that he should get a lot more credit for how good of a, and how small that role was. Still, how amazing he made that role and made it fun. Really a fantastic film. If you have not seen Daylight, people, check it out, people. So awesome, especially if you have a big TV, anywhere from, 45 and up. Oh my god, it's so intense. It was so awesome on the big screen back in 96. It was so awesome. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, people. Daylight, amazing film. Now, another great film that Stan Shaw was in that I really enjoyed him in was an awesome Sinbad film from the early 90s, starring the late, great Phil Hartman, and also Chauncey Leopardi. And that, of course, is the awesome film House Guest. Oh my god, this is probably one of my all-time favorite comedies of all time. I love House Guest. I think it's absolutely hilarious and amazing. Sinbad and Phil Hartman were so perfect together in the film, and Stan Shaw's character in the film was absolutely hilarious too. Like, I did not realize how good of a comedian he could be too until I saw him in House Guest. And him playing kind of the best friend slash, co-owner slash, like, living with guy of Sinbad in the film was just absolutely hilarious. I loved him. Larry the tattoo artist. And he just, like, he brought such a great, like, characterization to the character. It gave us, like, funny moments, like he's like having an asthma attack, and he just was so freaking hilarious in it. Absolutely loved Stan in it, and I thought he did a really great job, and just a really fun and silly role. Now, it comes to the Monster Squad. He plays another cop in this film, and even though it wasn't a huge role, it's still his bit scenes where he's talking to one of the main kids' dads, because he's a cop too as well, and just like his reactions and his like timing and just his lines were so funny and hilarious. Absolutely loved him. Thought he did a really fantastic job of the role. Thought he was just really fun and interesting. I just thought he did a really good job. I think he was a great addition to the film. I think he really should get more credit, like I said, for his roles, and especially in this one too, because he just was so on point in this and just so fun. Really worth watching this movie just for his performance, because he was just so awesome. Really well done. So another awesome actor that's in this film, he's been a bit actor for many years. He's done a lot of costume looks. You might recognize him from the film Manhunter, which is considered one of the first Hannibal Lecter films. You might recognize him from Eight-Legged Freaks too as well, an uncredited role that he had. And that, of course, is Mr. Tom Noonan. Now, Tom Noonan, like I said, you might recognize him for those two films I mentioned, but a couple films I really enjoyed him in and thought he was fantastic, and I loved the makeup work they did on him in those films and made him look so different than his character or his real self in real life. Thought they just did a really fantastic job of giving us a whole new and whole different persona, too. I think he does a really good job of making completely different characters in each film he's in, and I think he really does that very well. Now, of course, one of the films I'm talking about is an awesome, 1990 sequel to an awesome 1987 film that just was, awesome sci-fi action flick starring Peter Weller. And that, of course, is the film RoboCop 2. Now, in RoboCop 2, he plays the main villain in the film, and just his look and, like, what ends up happening to him in the film and how he ends up becoming, like, kind of like a RoboCop 2 himself was just so freaking awesome and amazing. And just his character was so interesting and so evil. And I just thought he did a really good job of portraying that character and giving us a whole different kind of like new bad guy for 1990. And giving us a different look and like different, tone of a, bad guy character. Because most bad guy characters, if you've noticed in movies and, throughout the 80s and 90s, they were like macho guys, maybe 5'10", always wore suits and stuff like that. No, but, Tom Noonan brought us, like, the 6'7" guy, pierced and long hair and kind of, like, into, Led Zeppelin, kind of, like, one of the Flower Childs type of characters. And I thought they did such a great job with that. He was amazing in it. I thought this is one of his best roles to date. Really awesome, really great flick if you haven't seen RoboCop 2. Definitely check it out, people. Worth the watch. Now, the other film that he was in that I think he plays another great bad guy character, and just a fun all-around action kind of family flick that Arnold Schwarzenegger starred in. And that, of course, is the film Last Action Hero. Oh, yeah! So this awesome staple of the mid-90s was just an awesome action flick, and Tom Noonan played the awesome main bad guy in the film. And he had such great prosthetic makeup on, I loved it, and just how he looked, and thought he made that character look so evil. And just his presence, it like brought a certain evil to the character too, and I thought they did such a great job with that. Really well done by him, and I just thought he did a fantastic job. Like I said, the prosthetics were amazing, his look, and just his presence that he brought to the character was really awesome too. Now, when it comes to in Monster Squad, his rendition of Frankenstein's monster was really awesome too, I thought. I mean, you didn't even recognize him in the makeup, And at the same time, though, he just gave an interesting and different approach to the Frankenstein monster that you really hadn't seen in any other film. And just like how he was kind of, he listened, to his master and so forth. At the same time, he had a heart more versus what he was in previous, renditions of Frankenstein's monster. And just like, just was awesome. It was an interesting take on the character. I thought that Fred really brought out that awesome character in his writing and how Tom Noonan delivered it and just made a really fantastic and memorable character in this film. Really enjoyable to watch in this film and just a really awesome addition to this film as well. To round out this cast, we have none other than an awesome actor that I think is another great comedian, versatile actor that can play serious, can play action, can play comedy. That's just a fun guy to watch and a great character actor, kind of along the lines of how Peter Falk was, how Stanley Tucci is, or how Oliver Platt is, and stuff like that. He plays those characters so well, like he's a really good character actor. And that, of course, is Mr. John Greers. Now, John Greers, you might recognize from a slew of films. You might recognize him from a lot of TV appearances, little shorts and films, and so forth. But a couple films I really enjoyed him and thought he was fantastic in were none other than an awesome 2000 flick that was just a really considered a indie classic and indie hit, where he plays a character called Uncle Rico in the film. And that, of course, is the film Napoleon Dynamite. Now, he plays the uncle of Napoleon Dynamite's character, John Heder, in the film. And he just plays that character to the T. He's so freaking hilarious. That wig he wears in the film, and just how he is and reacts to everything, and how he's such like a scoundrel was so perfect and hilarious. I absolutely thought John did an amazing job with that character, and I think he was so hilarious. Probably one of the funniest parts and funniest characters of that movie that I enjoyed watching about it, just because he's so like hilarious and so good at the character, and you really think he's Uncle Rico because that's how good he is. And he played the character so hilarious and just made it fun and enjoyable. And he just was a really awesome addition to that film. Really well done and just really fun. Now, another great film he was in that I think he played a really good supporting character. And now this is completely different from, kind of his comedy role in Napoleon Dynamite. It's more of an action flick where he brought a little comedy but was also a serious bad guy character at the same time. And that, of course, is the awesome Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film, The Rundown, with Seann William Scott. Now, this movie got a lot of slack. I think it's a fantastic action comedy flick. I think Seann William Scott and Dwayne "The Rock" were so awesome together. And John Greers just brought a great character to his bad guy character in the film. And just his quick comebacks and his lines and so forth just were so funny and hilarious. And you kind of felt bad for him, but at the same time you're like, you got what you deserve, bro, because you're such a, mouthy little dude. And he played the character so awesome. I love it, when he uses the whips and stuff, and just his fight sequences were really awesome. And just his interaction with anybody he has to interact on the film between Christopher Walken and Seann William Scott and The Rock was just so, on point and perfect. Super hilarious and a great reason to watch that film. John Greers was so awesome and so amazing. Now, when it comes to doing the Monster Squad, he actually plays the Wolfman. And I totally did not realize that was him until just recently. And I thought that his characterization of the Wolfman was absolutely awesome. I just thought it was really well created. And I love the fact that he's very aware of himself turning into the werewolf, and that he's telling people, you guys stop me. Don't let me turn this thing because I'll wreak havoc. And I love that aspect of that character and just how he was so hysterical. And I thought that was a great new rendition of the Wolfman versus, in past ones, he turns into it and, he really kind of has no idea that he's doing it. And, he has to find out about it after he turns back into his human self. Unlike where in this, John Greer's character already knows he's turning into it. He knows what he does. And I thought that was a really awesome and different take on the Wolfman. And I thought John did a really amazing job of bringing that to life, and just by the direction of Fred Decker. and just made a really awesome and excellent role for this film. And just another, like I said, another great addition to this awesome film. So if you're not familiar with what the Monster Squad's about, basically for 1987, it's supposed to be, you know, about modern times, that this kids in this town all of a sudden encounter Count Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and other monsters from myth. And they have to try to save the town from Dracula trying to take over the world, basically. And basically, they find out that this was kind of done almost 100 years prior in 1887. And basically, the premise of the film is these kids and have to work with some adults have to try to stop the monsters from taking over the world and send them back to the Neverworlds where they're supposed to be. And that's pretty much what the movie's about. It's just an awesome, excellent film. It has a lot of that great vibe with Ghostbusters too at the same time. It's just a fun, awesome kids, adventure film, monster, Halloween-y type of film, and just really fun and awesome. Everyone that had roles in the film was really good. I thought they all did really amazing jobs and made it fun. This is just a funny, hilarious film. It just really fantastic, really well directed, like I said, by Fred Dekker, and everyone involved was really great. If you have not seen this, especially if you're an 80's kid or if you grew up in the 80's, this is a movie to check out, especially for the month of October, people. Definitely check it out. An awesome Halloween classic. The Monster Squad is just an amazing film, too, as well. Great cult classic. This was actually co-written by Shane Black as well, if you did not know that. I think that's an awesome little tidbit. This is, just a fun film and a really great pleasure to watch. Definitely, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Giant 10 golden movie boxes up on this one, guys. Definitely worth adding to your collection, adding to your horror collection or your family horror collection. Just a fun film. Really well done and classic. A must-have. Well, that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And also, thank you for being a subscriber. If this is your first time here, or if you've been here before and you haven't hit that subscribe button, don't make me unleash the monsters on you to hit that button. Hit that button so you don't miss this video or any of the awesome videos I put up, people. And as always, keep your eyes out for any older, newer videos you might not have seen yet. And also, people, thank you for bearing with me. I'm sorry that this hasn't been on a recurring trend that I said I was going to be. It's been hectic these last month or so, couple months, trying to get it back into a habit, to make it work easy with the job change and all that kind of crazy stuff. I appreciate you guys that still watch and are still subscribers. Throw the word out, people. Let them know about checking out Cyberneticshark as well. I will be doing my first ever free giveaway of a product soon. Working on what I'm going to do for that. And I will have details of that in a future video soon. So keep your eyes out for that. I will be doing a live stream again soon too as well. Working on that as well. And like I said, I appreciate all you guys for watching. Thank you for being a fan. Thank you for being a subscriber. And all that good stuff. Also, if you haven't had a chance, check out my Stardust app. Or check out the Stardust app. Download it. Follow people. Check out awesome little mini reviews of movies, from trailers to TV shows to episodes to documentaries, anything your heart desires. You can also enter cool contests, and you can also go into polls. Just an awesome app, people. You should definitely check it out. If you're a follower on YouTube, you should definitely check that out and download it. And then follow me under Cyberneticshark, and I'll follow you back. And as always, people, catch you in the next one.